Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for checking out today's episode of Hardball Sports Talk. My name is Brandon. Joining me, like always, is my good friend Alex. Alex, how are you today?
It'd be better if I could fix this mic, but we're good. I should have done that
Yeah,
before we started, but
I fixed mine. I never actually uploaded the episode because I didn't think we did a good job. But Saturday after the NFL episode, I took my mic apart because I was bored, basically, and I actually got it back together. So
that's impressive.
yeah, it was pretty easy too. So that's good to know. Today though, we are going to be going over the NCAA men's basketball bracket. So we actually have a group that we want you guys to be part of. The link for it is in the description of this video on YouTube, Facebook, and I don't know if Twitch has descriptions or not, but if it does, it's on there too. But if not, search Hardball Sports Talk podcast on ESPN brackets, and you should find us. Depending on how many people we get in this group, we might have a little prize for the winner, assuming the winner is not one of us, which it's not going to be me. I can guarantee you that right now. But I want this to help grow the podcast a little bit and just get the word out there, and so people can see us a little bit. So we're hoping to get a little bit of action on this bracket group here. So what we're going to do today is we'll just basically break down each region a little bit, give some fun facts over these teams, some different storylines. For example, Long Beach State's head coach got fired last week, and now they're in the bracket. So crazy things like that. And there's a few teams that are making their tournament debut for the first time in a decade or so. So there's some fun storylines going on. And then, of course, you got the Blue Bloods like Connecticut and Duke and North Carolina, Michigan State, and all that. So should be another good year of college basketball for the bracket. And I don't follow college basketball super closely, but just hearing the craziness of the season, I think we're going to have a really fun tournament this year. Connecticut, I think, is the favorite, but it's been upset central all year long. So I'm looking forward to this tournament. I think it's going to be a good one. Before we get started, though, there's one thing I do want to mention. Justin Fields actually got traded from the Bears to the Steelers for a 6th-round pick, which, by the way, the Bears GM would be ashamed of himself for that one. He completely mismanaged this market for Justin Fields. He waited till all the quarterbacks movement was basically done and be like, oh, crap, I still have this quarterback that I don't want. And Justin Fields, you should be able to get at least a 3rd-round pick, I would imagine, for him. But they just waited way too long, and they got the 6th-round pick from the Steelers. So at the same time, though, I'm kind of curious what the Steelers' long-term plan is now because you got Russell Wilson and Justin Fields both in your locker room. So, but that's enough of the football talk. We are here to talk college basketball with you guys today. So let's get started on that. Not tomorrow night. The first 4 games, I'm not entirely sure when they're being played. It doesn't say on here. I know it says March 19th and 20th, so that's Wednesday and Thursday night. We got the 16 seeds Howard and Wagner, and then the 10 seeds Virginia and Colorado State. And then on Thursday, we got Montana State and Grambling and Boise State, which I'm wearing their hat right now, and Colorado. So I don't really know, actually. Do you know the history of the first 4 games? Like if they win, do they advance after that? I mean, I know they go to the next round, but how often do they win after that? Do you know?
There is a stat usually, and it's not usually the 16 seeds. Usually
No,
one of the the first final? No, not final.
I think it's 10 on one side, and I guess it's 10 on both sides.
Okay, well, if I remember right, one of those usually goes on. I think they usually get to the second round of the
Okay.
tournament.
Yeah, it's normally not the 16 seeds. The 16 seed matchup has only beat the 1 seed, I believe, 2 or 3 times.
Only twice.
Twice, yeah. And Purdue, by the way, was last year. Were they a 1 seed last year?
Yep, they were.
Purdue?
Yeah, they were.
Or were they a 2 seed? Okay, so
No, they
yeah,
were 1 seed.
Purdue last year, and then Virginia a few years back. Fun fact, though, the year after that Virginia got knocked out by UMBC, the Golden Retrievers, they end up winning the national championship. So maybe that's a good sign for Purdue. But we're going to start out in the East region here. That is UConn's region. UConn is the number 1 overall seed for the entire bracket. They'll be kicking things off against Stetson. So, Mid-American team, I would say UConn would have no problems there. Florida Atlantic, Northwestern is the 8-9 matchup there. That's a fun matchup right there. Do you have any fun facts for any of these games yet so far?
Yeah, Northwestern. This is only the third time in program history that they're in the field, which is kind of crazy to think.
Yeah, that is crazy
And
to think
then
about.
if you remember Florida Atlantic, I believe they
Yep.
went to a Final Four last year or the year before. They had their magical run.
Okay.
So they're probably looking to repeat to go back to the Final Four.
They're in a tough bracket, though, especially if they beat Northwestern. More than likely, they're playing UConn in the second round. So
Yes. Yeah.
they have their work cut out for them.
Yep.
Next set of games here, we got San Diego State against Alabama Birmingham. Another fun matchup there. I've seen some people having San Diego State actually coming out of this bracket. I don't remember actually who I picked, to be honest with you. But we're not going to share that either. I just know I've seen some people do that.
I think it's based on last year's because they made the final game, the championship game last year.
Yeah.
I don't think they lost a lot either, so I think that's why a lot of them are taking them to the out of this region, I should say. And I can't remember how far this dates back. There always has been a 12/5 seed. Like you said, we're not really giving away our picks because we want you to go and join our tournament to see our picks.
Yep. Moving along here, we got Auburn and Yale. I believe they're both Tigers. Isn't Yale Tigers?
I believe
I think
they are. No, they're Bulldogs.
Bulldogs. Yep.
Yep.
Some of those teams Princeton is the Tigers.
Yeah.
Nope.
Fun fact for you
Go ahead.
about Yale. They ended up hitting a buzzer beater in the Ivy League to clinch an automatic bid, and it's their second tournament appearance in the last 3 years. So they got some buzz going on right now.
Yeah, it sounds like it. We got BYU and Duquesne at the 6-11 matchup here. Illinois and Morehead State with the 3-14. Washington State and Drake at the 7-10. And then Iowa State and South Dakota State at the 2-15. Again, we're not gonna give away our picks for any of these games really. But do you have 2 or 3 teams, we'll say, that you like in this region to get out? I'm not gonna say who you have coming out of this region because
Right.
that's gonna be giving away our picks. But is there 2 or 3 teams that you could see making it to the Final Four here?
Obviously UConn. They're the defending champs. I think they have one of the harder harder regions to get out of it. But I think Iowa State has also a good chance. The way that they dismantled Houston in the Big 12 tournament game. I think they held Houston under 25 points in the first half, which hasn't happened to them at all. And the other one, I would probably say San Diego State too, if they can squeak by their opening round. Another fun fact about one of these teams, Washington State, it's their first tournament appearance since 2008.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So UConn again. I agree. They're the number 1 overall seed. They've been the best team in the country for a while now, so they're probably the favorites to come out of this bracket. Illinois, I watched a little bit of the Big Ten championship game the other day. I liked Illinois, how they played. Again, I don't watch a whole lot of college basketball, so but I liked how Illinois looked. I think they can make a little run at this. And then, like you said, San Diego State, if they were at the Final Four last year and have a lot of returning players, then I think that'd be a good team right there to pick. Moving on now to the West region. North Carolina is the 1 seed in that region. The ACC champions. They'll actually no, they did not win the ACC, did they? They might have won the
No,
regular season, but I don't think they won the tournament.
they won the Raiders. Yeah, and they were. Yep, you're correct.
So they'll be facing the winner of Howard and Wagner. The 8-9 matchup is Michigan State and Mississippi State. Mississippi State being the 8th seed. We got St. Mary's and Grand Canyon with the 5-12. Grand Canyon in their championship game had a very interesting ending to that game. If you haven't seen it, just type in Grand Canyon basketball, and I'm sure this clip will pop up. But basically, one of their guys, they were up by 10 with like 5 seconds left to dunk, and their opponent did not find that very fun. One guy basically gave him a little shoulder check while the inbounder threw the ball right at him. It's crazy. And I think if I heard it right, the only player that got ejected was somebody off of Grand Canyon's bench, if I heard the ref right, which is absolutely crazy to think about and all that.
I didn't see that. I saw the highlight, and when it happened, I saw their whole staff and even the coach told everyone to stay on the bench, and he even went out onto the court to grab the 5 guys that are out there to
Yeah.
basically tell them go to the bench. So must be one guy snuck out and had
So
something to say.
John Boy did a breakdown of this. If you guys don't know who John Boy is, I suggest you go look for him on YouTube. He's really fun. But there was some coaches that were doing a really good job of holding players back, and other coaches were not. One coach actually, literally, in the video that John Boy had, he was boxing out 4 guys.
That's awesome. I did not see
great.
that.
Yeah, I'll send you the link to it. It was pretty great. But moving on here, we got Alabama and Charleston, Clemson and New Mexico, Baylor and Colgate, Dayton and Nevada, and then Arizona at Long Beach State, which Long Beach State was that? Yeah, that was the coach.
Yes.
The coach for Long Beach State actually got fired a couple weeks ago, and they agreed to let him finish out the season, not thinking anything would ever happen. And now they're in the NCAA tournament because they won their conference tournament, which is a kind of crazy story.
It's a pretty funny story. One of the key factors about this region too, and I believe the committee did this on purpose. One of the bigger stars, who plays for Arizona, Caleb Love, he recently played for North Carolina, back in 2017, I think. I think he was the one that
2017
hit.
was 7 years ago.
Oh no, I'm reading it wrong. I apologize.
Okay.
It was 2 years ago. Sorry.
Okay, that makes more sense.
Yeah, 2021. So, anyways, they would be on a collision course, and he didn't get a chance to play against his former team. And then kind of like what you said, Long Beach State, it's pretty funny that not funny, but a guy who gets fired ends up taking them to the tournament. And hey, there's been a couple 15-over-2s the last year, so I mean, it's a good chance that Arizona could be bounced first round.
And if I remember right, Arizona is that one team that's always ranked in the top 3 or 4, and they always lose early in the tournament.
Yes, that for whatever reason
They
they struggle.
just don't perform. Yeah.
No.
So like it would not be a stretch if Long Beach State wins this game. Like
Correct.
I would not be shocked.
No.
So like
definitely
let's
not.
just say for conversation's sake, again, we're not giving our picks or anything like that, but for conversation's sake, let's say that Long Beach State wins that game. Do they say, "Hey coach, never mind, we'll just give you a new contract instead"?
I don't know if they can.
I mean, I don't know. Are they a public university? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know how that would work. Yeah, we'd have to
Yeah.
do way more research into that.
But like,
that would be,
I mean,
yeah.
at this point, like they can't. Like, I mean, they almost have to say, "Hey, you want to interview for the job again?"
Right. You know how we
Which,
kind of fired you? Yeah, we're kind
yeah,
of taking that back right now.
yeah. Never mind. You're good enough for us. It's kind of weird to fire a guy and then be like, "Yeah, you can still coach us," and then this happens. Like that's just unheard of. Like if you're gonna fire the guy, fire the guy.
Right, exactly.
That's just weird. So do you have a couple teams here that you like, 2 or 3 teams?
North Carolina. I think they have a good chance of coming out of this. Look out for St. Mary's too. I've seen them in their tournament games. And huh, everyone has a weird tournament game for conferences. And the one they're in, I think they were the 2 seed, so they only had to play once. Actually, they played twice. And then they were in the championship game in the tournament. Their conference tournament is weird. If you're the first overall in your conference, I think it's the I think it's the WAC. If you're
Yeah, I
the
think
number
that's
one
right.
seed, you're basically playing in the semifinals to go to the championship game, which is kind of crazy to think about it.
Yeah.
But North Carolina, I would say, I guess if I had to pick another team, it would probably be Baylor. I just don't trust Arizona. Like you said, they make it far. Alabama is more of an offensive team, and you kind of need the your defense to make a play or two. Um, so I would probably say North Carolina and Baylor to come out of this region.
So every year I do at least 4 or 5 brackets because I'm convinced one of the brackets I'm going to do really good in, and none of them I ever do any good in. It's just how things roll here. But every year I always have Tom Izzo making a run, just because I have a lot of respect for Izzo, being from my area of Michigan. He grew up about 2 hours or so from where I'm at now. And I've always said when the word survive and advance is involved, especially survive, you always pick the Uper. So with that, I just can't pick against Michigan State, even though they'd probably have no chance whatsoever, most likely, especially being the 9 seed. But crazier things have happened. In fact, the last 3 or 4 final or tournaments, I saw that at least one 5 seed or worse has made the final four. So maybe it is Michigan State. Who knows? And then like you said, don't really trust Arizona. So yeah, Baylor and North Carolina would probably be the best bets. And yeah, moving on to the South now, we got Houston facing off Longwood for the 116, Nebraska and Texas A&M at the 8-9, Wisconsin and James Madison at the 5-12. We got everyone's favorite team to hate on, Duke and Vermont with the 4-13, Texas Tech and NC State with the 6-11, excuse me, Kentucky and Oakland at the 3-14, Florida and Boise State, Colorado winner at the 7-10, and then Marquette and Western Kentucky at the 2-15. Do you have any fun facts or storylines for any of these teams here?
Yeah, the Oakland Bears, I believe they are called.
Yeah, I think so.
It's the first appearance since 2011. And they are just outside of Detroit is where they're located. So that's pretty cool to see. James Madison's a very interesting one. I believe they finished the season 30-3. They beat Michigan State, I think, in the opening night in East Lansing. They went undefeated in their conference, I believe. And they're on a hot streak right now of 13 games. So they're a fun 12 seed you could probably pick over Wisconsin. I watched that Big Ten championship game between Wisconsin and Illinois. Um, I have questions about Wisconsin. They got a few guys that are pretty good. A couple transfers. Obviously, they knocked out Purdue, but Purdue is a weak number one, if you ask me. So,
Yeah. Is there two or three teams in this region that you like coming out?
I do like Houston coming out. Even though they struggled in their championship game, they seem to be kind of returning to back what they were way back before we were even born. In the dominant team. I feel like they'll make a deep run in this. I also like I kind of like Texas Tech out of this too. I don't know why. I just kind of like them. So I'm gonna go with Houston, Texas Tech.
So
It
just
doesn't mean I'll
looking at
pick them, by the
no,
way. Oh,
no, just looking at this region, there's not that dominant team
yeah.
like Houston. Like, yeah, they've been good the last couple of seasons, but they just haven't been able to put it together in the tournament. Maybe this is the year for that. Duke, they're again the same team. Like they just can't. They haven't been able to put it together in the tournament in a couple of years now. So this bracket or this region, I would say, is wide open. So
Mhm.
you know what? This might be the year for like a James Madison or something like that to run the table, especially like you said, beating Michigan State week 1 in East Lansing. They're 31-3. Uh, so yeah, that'd be a fun matchup there. Another team to look out for, in my opinion, would be Kentucky. John Calipari. I think he's a good coach, and again, though, do you really trust them? I mean, is he still doing the one and done thing, or Calipari, or did he
Yeah,
change
he
from his ways?
no, he pretty much does the one and done, and he'll tell you it's about how much money they make instead of how many championships they win. So
Yeah. So, like that goes against them because you don't have the experience of, for example, a James Madison, who I don't know what the roster looks like, but usually Mid American teams they have juniors and seniors, and that's why they're able to go on deeper runs.
mhm.
Finally, the last group here, we got the Midwest. We got Purdue playing the winner of Montana State and Grambling State with the 116. We got Utah State and TCU at the 8-9. Gonzaga and McNeese State at the 5-12. Kansas and Samford at the 4-13. South Carolina and Oregon at the 6-11. Creighton and Akron at the 3-14. Texas and the winner of Virginia and Colorado State at the 7-10. And then Tennessee with last year's Cinderella story, St. Pete at the 2-15. So, like we've been doing every other bracket here, our region. Do you have any fun storylines?
Yeah, I can't remember. Are they going by McNeese State? I feel like they kept changing it.
So here it just says McNeese on the NCAA website I'm on. I
Okay.
just know I always known them as McNeese State, but they could have changed it.
Okay, yeah. Anyways, this is their first tournament appearance since 2002, which is pretty exciting. And St. Peter's, the Peacocks, it was 2 seasons ago that they went to
Okay,
the Elite 8.
it was 2
Um,
seasons ago.
yeah, so that's kind of a fun story to watch too. Um, I would
Well, yeah, it was
say,
it was Fairleigh Dickinson last year, wasn't it?
yeah, they're the ones that beat Purdue.
Yeah,
If you are asking me the teams I would kind of look out for, uh, I'm actually gonna go with probably the 3, 4, and 5, and that's Kansas with Bill Self and his team. I know they had a couple of injuries, but when you have a good coach, he's up there. Creighton, um, they're always a good team in the tournament, and I know that I see who Gonzaga. Gonzaga is going to be up there too, so I would say probably those guys. I think Purdue's going to bounce early, and they'll be the
yeah.
first number one seed eliminated.
So that answers the next question I was going to ask you actually after we got done with this region was what number one seed do you have the most confidence in and the least confidence in? So clearly it's Purdue they have the least confidence in. I would agree with you on that one.
Yeah, and then I would say UConn would probably be the one. They're looking to repeat. I think they'll be easily a Final Four team. I think they'll represent in the championship game.
Yeah, I agree with you on that one. Yeah, and again, I don't trust Purdue, so I'm not going to say they're the favorite in this region. Until basically they win, I will never pick them. It's kind of like
That's
Gonzaga. Gonzaga's the same way with me until they, because every year everyone's like, oh, this is the year that Gonzaga breaks through, and they just don't.
Yeah, they
So
reached the actual blue bloods. I know people call them a blue blood, but they actually match up with the actual blue bloods and end up losing. So
yeah. So with that being said, Kansas and Creighton would be the two teams I'd watch out for in this region here.
mhm.
So uh, Is there any other storylines for any of these teams that you saw that were fascinating, or did you get them all?
I think we kind of went through it. I think the one team that we'll see if they actually have any gas left in the tank is the ACC champions with the NC State Wolfpacks. They won 5 games in 5 days, which is kind of crazy if you think about it.
Yeah.
Um, it'll be interesting to see if these guys can keep that momentum going, and ending up beating let's see who did Texas Tech. Another one too. Nebraska is back in the not the Big Ten, back in the March Madness. First time since 2019. And they actually had a pretty good Big Ten tournament. They made the semifinals for the first time in history. Again, I would probably pick one of the 10 seeds that are in the playing games right now. Like I said, usually they end up coming, or they end up making the second round. So that's Colorado and Boise State, and doing this live, which is probably bad, but I don't remember who the other 10 seeds were fighting.
Here, I got it right here.
Oh, Colorado State and Virginia.
Virginia and Colorado State.
Yeah, thank you. So
No
if
problem.
I had to pick which one would probably go farther, probably Virginia. They haven't, just based on coach alone.
Yeah.
But who knows?
Which is kind of crazy to think about Virginia being in the playing game. I mean, just think of was it 5 years ago they were the number 1 seed. I understand it doesn't go off last year's numbers. It's always a new season, but
right.
still,
That they're
typically,
in a playing
especially
game.
yeah. Typically with the Power 5 conferences, it's always the same old at the top. So I'm kind of shocked that Virginia is in the playoff. But again, I don't follow college basketball closely, so they must have been down this year.
Yeah. I'm kind of just excited because I know we're going to be wrong on pretty much everything we said, because that's what this tournament is.
Yep.
It's pretty awesome if you think about it. The first weekend, it's games around all the time. And then you're bound to have that first upset, and that's the best part, in my opinion.
Yep.
So I was looking forward to this tournament.
And the nice part about it is it normally works itself out where, like, you might have a team lose, for example, Purdue might lose early on, but at the end of the tournament, it's going to be a really good basketball obviously it's going to be a good basketball program, but it's not like St. Pete winning the national championship. It's usually the North Carolinas, the Connecticut's, the Kansases, the teams that are usually there. So
we just got this comment. Hey, I love the Tar Heels. All right, Josh. I'm rooting for them. They're my second team, because Michigan decided to no-show pretty much the last 4 years. So I've been rooting for North Carolina. So I'm giving all the love to North Carolina. My pick will be different, but on the podcast here, I will pick them to win the national championship for you. So there you go. There's my pick. Not really, but it is.
Got to make the listeners happy.
That's right.
That's what we're here for.
Yeah. Another fun thing too, if you don't want to take this serious, you can always do it, which we don't. Sometimes if you're struggling on who to pick, you can take my roommate's advice, and that's my wife, by the way. My roommate's advice, and go with the better mascot, because she would rather go mascot than actually look at stuff. So,
hey, that's what my wife did too. I will not say on the podcast who she has winning at all, because I don't want to make her embarrassed or anything like that. But let's just say she has an upset alert going on here. I will leave
from
it
what
at
you
that.
told me, yeah. It would be a huge upset.
Yeah, that would be a very big upset. Thank you guys so much for checking us out. This week, we're going to have 3 episodes total for you guys this week. We're still trying to figure out the scheduling with it, but we need to do the NL West for our baseball preview, since they are playing this week in actual regular season games. Regular season baseball starts this week also too. Really fun week in sports. And then the third episode will be the last part, actually second last part, I guess, of our movie ranking series, where we've been ranking our favorite sports movies. I'll be doing numbers 10 through 1. I think we'll have some surprises for you guys in that, because if you haven't noticed on the rest of our rankings, we like the stupid movies. And I think we'll both have some movies in our top 10. Well, you guys will be like, what on earth? Those are not top 50 sports movies. Why aren't they in your top 10? Because we love them. That's why. So
Yeah, that's
get
right.
over it.
Yeah.
Thank you guys so much, though, for checking out today's episode. We really appreciate it. Be sure to like your friends and family. And if you haven't yet, please join our bracket group. The link for it's in the description on the Facebook and the YouTube, and also on our Facebook page. It's an ESPN link. Just go ahead and sign up for that. It is free. And again, depending on how many people we have and who wins, if it's one of us, for example, that wins, which it's not going to be either one of us, but we'll get you guys something small, a little hardball sports gift. I haven't decided what that's going to be yet, because I'm waiting to see how many people we have sign up for this. But I kind of want to do a little prize for you guys. Thank you guys so much again for checking us out. Be sure to check us out on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Thank you guys. And hopefully you guys are not tearing your brackets here in the next couple days.